When he was only 18 years old, Aurélien Brulé left France and went to seek out gibbons. After a few months in Thailand, where he was nicknamed Chanee, which means gibbon in Thai, he went to Indonesia, to the second largest jungle in the world, that of Borneo. Chanee quickly realised that the gibbon's situation was very uncertain. So he decided to get involved and to set up a first rehabilitation camp for gibbons on Hampapak Island.
At the start of the project, I chose an island for the project infrastructure because if a gibbon ever escapes from one of the aviaries, it's still confined on the island. So if it's infected with any human diseases, it won't pose a risk to the wild populations in the forest.
The Kalaweit Association, founded by Chanee in 1999, doesn't only look after gibbons. Other animals in distress are also taken in.
This hornbill, called Graham, arrived here about a year and a half ago now. One day we saw someone drive up to the office with the hornbill on the passenger seat of the car. He spent some time in an aviary first, and now he's free. And he spent so much time with humans, that's why he's often on the ground. But the good thing is that he does sleep in the trees. So as time goes on, I hope he'll become more independent. We sometimes have to intervene to save animals, and that goes from snakes, via lorises, small primates, to tortoises, monitor lizards, to bears. All the animals we receive here have been victims of humans. With the gibbons, most of the time the poachers kill the mothers in the forest to catch the babies and sell them as pets.
For Chanee, creating the first Gibbon Sanctuary in the world wasn't a crazy idea. In Indonesia alone, over 6,000 gibbons live in captivity in people's houses. So far, the Kalaweit team has been able to remove 300. Gibbons are very susceptible to certain diseases, and that's why special precautions must be taken.
In Kalaweit, we always wear masks when in contact with the gibbons to stop the gibbons catching a typically human disease, which is called herpes simplex. It sounds like a complicated name, but it's the cold sore that humans often get when they're a bit run down, etc. In the gibbon, it causes encephalitis, and the gibbon simply dies in 4 days. First, we palpate to be sure there are no pellets of shot in the body, which there frequently are. The poachers kill the mother with air rifles, and the baby is hanging on to its mother and also takes some pellets. Oof, he's got a toe that's completely broken, fractured. We have a problem here because the gibbon is so dirty. We don't often see a gibbon in this state. He's not thin, but he's extremely dirty due to the water and all the dirt in his little wooden box. So we're going to shampoo him.
Once we receive the animal, we will name the animal, and we will put the animal in the quarantine cage. By that, we will record the cage number and then with the name of it.
The new arrival, named Shampoo, gently regains consciousness. Not far away, to check, a gibbon who arrived on the island 7 years ago is patiently waiting for the moment when he'll join a female chosen for him. In the meantime, something unexpected has happened.
Last night, a female called Bebe escaped from this enclosure, a female macaque, so the team's trying to catch her. She's just gone back inside. Because the team was trying to catch her, she got scared and went back inside the enclosure. That doesn't mean she won't try to get out again tonight, so I'll spend the night here tonight. If she does get out again, I'll be able to see where she's getting through.
Looking after gibbons takes a considerable amount of work. Chanee relies on a team of devoted people, several of whom come from the local communities.
I bring in the people I need. I don't claim to be a vet or a botanist. It's really multidisciplinary. And that's why I think that even if you start at 18, if you have the maturity to create a project and to bring in the right people, you can make it.
He started this program in a very, very young age. His idea that he would like to include the participation of the local Indonesian to protect the nature and the wildlife. So I think that's the good point, that I have to support him always and change the way of Indonesian thinking about how to protect the nature.
I arrived in Indonesia with a limited idea of the situation. I thought, gibbons, full stop. I realized there were people here and that gibbon conservation can't succeed without the involvement of the local population. You have to inform them about the particular problems of gibbons, but you have to become a partner of the local population to protect the forest. So the villagers themselves defined the limits of the reserve. When the villagers, the people in inverted commas, have said yes, it's hard for the politicians to say no.
Releasing the gibbons into the wild, with all the dangers lying in wait for the former residents of the sanctuary, requires monitoring. That's why Chanee regularly goes into the reserve. In these 4,000 hectares of protected land, preserved in its natural state, several species find shelter.
In the reserve here, we have 7 species of primates, including orang-utans, gibbons, proboscis monkeys, a lot of birds, a lot of snakes. This kind of forest is a paradise for pythons. It's like a larder with all these other animals. So they can be in the trees or in the water.
A while ago, Chanee and his team caught a python on the edge of the Hampapak camp. Catching this impressive reptile required the intervention of several men. Chanee made the most of it by filming the event.
It's a super python. It must be at least 3 meters long. And a python like this can grow up to 8 or 10 meters. It's the second largest snake in the world after the anaconda. A python of this size can easily kill a man and swallow a child of 4 or 5 years old. We'll microchip it and release it today a long way from the island, so we can be sure this python won't bother the primates in Kalaweit anymore. Okay, be nice. We can do this. No. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's not only the predators in the swamp that threaten gibbons. The fate of the Indonesian forests is also of great concern for their future.
The deforestation rate in Borneo is one of the fastest in the world. If it's that fast, and what scares me now, after 10 years, is what will happen in the next 10 years. What I've seen in 10 years is pretty disastrous. And day after day, the gibbons are losing hundreds and hundreds of hectares. That means they're being squeezed and they're dying. As gibbons are very territorial, if one area of forest has disappeared, it doesn't mean the gibbon has moved. Yes, it will certainly have tried to move, but it will have been killed by other gibbons for territorial reasons. So they can't share a smaller forest. The problem is that now, after 30 years of forest exploitation, a palm oil company will come in and cut down everything that's left to establish a monoculture of palms where nothing lives anymore.
With this amount of lost habitat, reserve projects like the one in Hampapak are even more necessary for the survival of the species.
Gibbons, like several other primates, move using brachiation, so hanging from the branches. But the difference from other apes is that they've specialized in this mode of movement to the point where they've developed longer arms than other monkeys. A gibbon that's always lived in the wild will never set foot on the ground in its entire life. That's why it's so important in the rehabilitation process to get them up as high as possible. That's why we chose Hampapak Island. So if they sing, if they mate, if they don't come down to the ground, if they don't show any more interest in humans, we judge that they're ready to be released. As the gibbons are very hard to monitor, we try to make platforms in the forest where we can look out for them and listen to the gibbons. By singing, first of all, they're telling us they're in good health. They're also telling us that they're confident enough to mark their territory. That's very important, especially for the animals we've released into the forest. By monitoring them or listening to them for about 10 days, we'll know roughly where they're living in the forest.
Like dozens of other gibbons returned to the wild, Shampoo, Tchek and his companion will soon be able to take the path to freedom. These releases are very special moments for Chanee, giving meaning to so many years of his work.
We now have nearly 300 gibbons in Kalaweit. It's the largest captive population, the biggest gibbon conservation project in the world. But by working on the root of the problem, when we go and collect gibbons, like when we got that gibbon out of the box a few days ago, the fact of taking it out of those conditions and giving it a better, decent life in Kalaweit is already a source of satisfaction, even before you think of releasing them. The first thing is to try to appease their suffering, and all these small victories mean that you do feel that you're useful. We can all make a difference.